We have to have peace. We have to have.
When he ultimately issues his video, this isn't a guy who is apologetic for any of this. This isn't somebody who says, oops, this has gone awry, this has gone too far. Quite the opposite.
So go home. We love you. You're very special. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
We love you. You are special. These are people that have assaulted the U.S. Capitol building, have attacked Capitol police officers, are trying to stop the proceedings of Congress. And Trump does tell them to go home, but then immediately adds, we love you, you are special.
Special Counsel Jack Smith has cited those 187 minutes in his conspiracy case against Trump.
The defendant's knowing and corrupt intent is clear from his actions and purposeful inaction during the attack on the Capitol.
The prosecutor's going to show that as he got the result he hoped for, a big scene, a riot, and then of course he wasn't going to do anything to stop the riot because he had use to make of it. And that use was to use the people's fear to try to get them to do what he wanted.
After more than a year, the January 6th Select Committee issued criminal referrals against Donald Trump.
For the first time in American history, Congress has referred a former president to the Department of Justice for possible criminal prosecution.
Jack Smith's indictment followed.
A first in U.S. history. A former president criminally charged with...
Special Counsel Jack Smith called the January 6th attack on the Capitol an attack that was fueled by lies.
The criminal indictment contained it all. The false claims of fraud, the demands on Rusty Bowers, the phone call to Secretary Raffensperger, the conspiracy theories about Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman, the pressure on the Department of Justice, pushing Vice President Pence to overturn the election, and the president's actions on January 6th. But a criminal trial will be very different from the committee's hearings.
A committee hearing is not a federal court trial. There's barely any rules other than what the committee says there are. The rules of evidence don't apply, and they will very much apply in federal court. There are numerous privileges and other barriers to getting in evidence that don't apply. So you can't look at the testimony in front of the January 6th committee and assume that the same testimony can come in at trial. The prosecutor has to figure out, okay, what parts of that can I get in? Will the judge let me do?
There's so not a script for this. It's hard to imagine how it's going to play out. Donald Trump is going to be the defendant and the candidate all wrapped into one. It's just unprecedented.
The state Supreme Court has ruled to remove Donald Trump from the state's 2024 ballot.
Trump's attorneys say that he is immune from prosecution because he was president of the United States.
There is a real possibility the trial will be delayed. The question is, how long?
Trump's best strategy right now is delay.
Donald Trump is trying to do everything possible to delay this trial until after the election.
Because he is a very unusual defendant in terms of his potential power. If he wins the election, he can just order the DOJ to drop the case entirely. So he has an enormous personal incentive to win the presidency just to get himself out of legal jeopardy.
Donald Trump, I think, understands that his best chance to avoid conviction and stay out of jail is to return to the White House.
Trump's defense is aimed not just at the courts, but also the voters.
About 6 in 10 Republican voters believe that the 2020 election was stolen.
Republican voters don't believe January 6th was that big of a deal.
Now, a looming prosecution, a presidential election, democracy on trial.
The 2024 election is one where American democracy very much is on the table.
From the rule of law to American democracy itself, too much is at stake.
Go to pbs.org/frontline for the latest transparency project. See extended interviews from the film.
The thing we needed to do was tell that to the American people in a compelling way.
I know somebody just like those two ladies in my community.
I mean, I wanted him to win. Okay, so what? I'm not going to cheat.
That's why there's a First Amendment.
Connect with Frontline on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly Twitter, and stream anytime on the PBS app, YouTube,